everyone. Welcome to Loud and Proud Orlando. It's Monday, March 16th, 6:35 p.m. Thank you so much for your support. Well, we won, guys. We won, finally. The Perelmania is running wild, brother. Right? We're definitely running wild. It was a game. It was kind of like a kind of getting all the bad juju out. You know what I mean? And I think Orlando City finally got the win. It was a game that Orlando City, on paper, was superior to Montreal for the caliber of players and DPs that this squad currently has. Even though people say that there's a lot of youth, but I mean, just the pedigree in itself, on paper, show that Orlando had the more of like the way tilted towards them to win this game, and they did. They closed down the game. We saw a lot of pragmatism, and that's the new word that Coach Perelman and also the front office is using, being pragmatic. I think Orlando City was pragmatic, but one thing I did find was there was a fire lit in Orlando City, which is great, which we didn't see the first three games. Even though we play against better competition than Montreal, I feel, need to be level-headed for what's coming next. And obviously, the stats are not in our favor, being completely realistically honest. But definitely, this win is for the fans. That's just what Coach Perlman said on the press conference. This win was for the players. And again, I think we're going to analyze it today. I'm here with David G today, and today we're going to be discussing Orlando City defeating Montreal 2-1, as well as Martín Perelman's first press conference with Orlando City as interim coach. Then we'll talk about Orlando City B defeating Carolina Core 3-2, another great outing by the Young Lions. I mean, tremendous game by Justin Ellis, by Harvey Saragian, and also by Tromboni, I believe. Trombino. My apologies. And also updates on OCSC coaching search, or is there a search in the end? So, well, I have some breaking news, which we'll talk a little later. So, how are you, David? Good to see you again. Thank you to everybody that's watching, about 30 people live right now. Make sure you, obviously, as always, subscribe, click the bell for all notifications. We're Loud and Proud Orlando. Take it away, David. How do you see this game? I mean, it was a W.
Yeah, first of all, evening, everybody. Evening, Luis. Good to see everybody here on a Victory Monday, baby.
Oh, hell yeah.
The first thing I'm going to say is to all my WWE fans, happy 316 to everybody who celebrates. Pour out a cold one for Austin today. This game, we needed it, right? We kept talking about a win's got to come in the column. This was the easiest game on our upcoming schedule to try and get a win. And even with the coaching change, you were hoping there was going to be enough to get this team over the top. And I have to say, the night kind of lined up perfectly. And I think Luis can agree with me on this. This was a night that started off with celebration. We were saying goodbye to Kay Rollins, who obviously means everything to this club. We talked about it on our midweek show. I thought the supporter groups did a great job recognizing her in the form of a gorgeous tifo to recognize her with that. Obviously, she was very emotional pregame, as she should. Our good friend John, of course, was out there as well to be with his family and celebrate all the wonderful stuff that Kay Rollins has given to us. And as we always like to say, and to not be cheesy, without Kay Rollins, we're not here, right? Without her, this doesn't exist. And so just a beautiful tribute to somebody like that. And then I think this game was also sort of a send-off to Oscar, right? I think it was also to thank him for all the years of service he gave us as well, and to kind of show that these guys have the fight in them that we honestly haven't really seen from them all that much this season, right? We maybe saw about a half, maybe a little bit more than a half of fight from Orlando City this season. So this was a great opportunity to kind of slide in. Now, to get into the actual game itself, it was really interesting because I think a move that caught a lot of people off guard was Iago slides back into the back line. We talked a little bit about it on Thursday, about how there were some rumors that Perelman fancied Iago a little bit more than Nolan Miller, which I didn't think was really fair to Miller. I think Miller's been solid this season, but we heard that Perelman fancied Iago a little bit more, and so Iago got the opportunity to start. I was pleasantly surprised because obviously, as you guys know, I've been banging the drum on all 3 U22s this offseason. So he gets to start for us, and then Marin slides back in after suffering from some injuries the last couple of weeks. We weren't sure what we were going to get out of him. And I think the really important thing about this game from the start is we set the tone early, right? That was the game plan coming out of the tunnel, was we needed to go out there. We needed to play the game the way we wanted to play it. We knew there wasn't going to be a ton of tactical changes because, guys, remember, Perelman only really got 48 hours, 72 hours to really train with this team. He wasn't going to make a ton of adjustments. There was just not enough time for any of that. So you were going to see the similar formation. You were going to see a similar tactic of, let's counter, let's press, let's do all these things. And we broke through pretty early, right? Duncan McGuire gets the goal in the 18th minute off of, and we can't say this enough, Ivan Angulo was the man of the match for a reason. Guy was all over the pitch. He was up and down the left flank, but not only up and down the left flank, he got involved in the center of the field. He directed traffic well when he was on the ball. And listen, I'll hold my hand up. I've crapped on Ivan Angulo all offseason, right? This guy made us look stupid on Saturday, and we need to see more of that Ivan Angulo if this team is going to be successful going forward. But anyway, on the first goal, he gets involved on that. Shot gets deflected. Unfortunately, his shot hits the post. And then Duncan McGuire is in the right spot where any striker should be, right? Right in that poaching area. He bangs home the goal and gets Duncan McGuire on the score sheet, which is exactly where, Duncan McGuire on the score sheet, exactly where we need Duncan McGuire to be. He needs to start getting going, right? And so we need him to do that. Then, unfortunately, we get scored on pretty quickly on the other end. Marin gets completely bulldozed. And if you go back and look at it, to me, it's a foul because Prince Owusu goes through Marin and knocks him over, and then also ends up elbowing Iago on his way to get that header. He scores the header. It is what it is, but I think it's a foul. I know VAR looked at it. I think it's a foul, but whatever. He gets the goal, and then the question, I'm sure, Luis, you had the same question, how does this team respond? Right? Because when this team's been kicked in the teeth this year, they don't respond. So what happens, Luis? Ivan Angulo gets involved again on a beautiful interplay. Beautiful interplay with Martín Ojeda, gets it off to Martín Ojeda, who just slots it home in the net and puts the Lions up 2-1. But the one thing that I can't take away from anybody in the first half is it was, besides Ivan Angulo being the player we needed him to be, Brian Ojeda dictated the midfield from the start of the first half throughout the entire game. And I have to mention him early just because everything he did in the midfield, sure, he had those splashy plays where he had that one spin move and he avoided 2 players and he drew a lot of fouls and all that kind of stuff. But Brian Ojeda was exactly the Brian Ojeda we expected him to be when he came over from RSL that we haven't seen yet this season. And then the other person that you have to shout out early in the game is Adrian Marine had the best game he's ever had in purple. Hands down. There's no argument there. Marine found another level of his play, and if we're going to be successful on that left flank, he's got to continue to find those games in himself to go do that, because that's the Adrian Marine we need in order to be successful. Any thoughts from you, Luis, on the first half?
Well, be honest with you, you're on point. I just think that Orlando started very aggressively under Martín Perelman. He already emphasized that he had more of an attacking style compared to the previous regime. And obviously the Lions just controlled early transitions. They were leveraging their speed, leveraging speed on the wings to the point that a lot of colleagues in the box, I want to give a shout out to some colleagues that were there, they were telling me, hey, Orlando's not playing with a number 10. I was like, well, Martín Ojeda is their 10 right now, but he kind of moves around. It's like, no, he looks more like a striker. It's like, so most of the attacking prowess of Orlando City, especially in the first half, was coming through the wings, particularly through Ivan Angulo. Obviously possession favored Montreal, but I mean, those just are numbers. Orlando was just clinical in counterattacks. Again, the Orlando capitalized on the first half opportunities. And we've seen Angulo do something similar on the Martín Ojeda goal, but usually it will lead into an extra pass, or it would lead into a deflected shot, or it would lead for Angulo to stop and pass it back. In this scenario, he went all out, and then he saw Martín completely open and capitalized. So Orlando did something that has not been able to do in the last 3 games, which is finishing the play. And that injected energy to the whole entire game, to the whole entire team. So much so that I agree with you. I think Brian Ojeda, and I will say Eduardo Atuesta as well, which in the second half, he started looking a little tired, just because of injuries and also because of not being used to, because Montreal was also pressing, not as much, but they were also pressing.
Well, he was playing on the yellow card as well, Luis.
Yeah,
so he's probably a little more passive.
Yeah, clearly Ojeda and Atuesta were so important. I also want to say there is a thing in South America, and this may be a South American thing. I believe it is, that center backs, sometimes they play a little extra, a little extra, you know what I'm saying? Like, hit a little jab right there, without, with the ref looking. They have a way of kind of looking over maybe a little bit of a pull, dark arts, the dark arts. We saw that from Iago. And I mean, Iago, I think the reason why Coach Perelman sees him into maybe over Nolan, he wanted to see what he could do. I mean, for no effing reason, he was named the best center back of the whole entire continent under 20s. You know what I mean? So I think we saw his best game. I mean, I do want to say, though, we don't want to abuse on those little jabs here and there, because eventually, depending, pro refs are crappy, but eventually he'll get a ref that's going to notice, and it could cost the team dearly on a good set piece or on a penalty. But he was able to get away with dropping 2 Montreal players. Like, he checked the Spanish guy, I think Carmona. He checked Carmona. He started grabbing his hammy. He did not run or did a 1v1 again the whole entire first half. And then the way he handled Prince Owusu, obviously, even though he did get overpowered, I thought Prince Owusu was going to be a little bit more dangerous because of the youth that we saw in the center back core. But no, I mean, he was just like, giving him a piece of his money on some instances. But again, it wasn't the perfect night, but I think it was his best game so far that we've seen. So good for him. Hopefully he keeps growing. And I'm just happy that Duncan was able to just get rid of all that, that drought. I think hopefully this sparks old Duncan McGuire back, David.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with all of it is, with any striker, you got to get him going. Like, you got to get the first one in. Once the first one gets in, you start to feel yourself a little bit. You start to really, try to put more in. He was lucky on the night, though, because you didn't really have a striker who could challenge him. Thiago was out with an injury, for those that weren't aware. He was dealing with a leg issue that kept him out. You had Pedro Leao on the bench, which we did see later, but Pedro Leao was great. Yeah, Pedro Leao was just never going to push, for more time than what he probably ended up getting, right? So, it really was Duncan's spot to kind of go and play, right? And I think Not only was the goal, listen, I get it was a tap in, but you take a goal any way you can get it. But his pressing was really good all night. If you watch Duncan and sort of his pressing and counter pressing, and when you talk about pressing cues, if you want to get into like the weeds about what pressing is and what you look for, Duncan was on it the entire night, and he needed to be. And it was good to see from him sort of that push forward. Now, Luis, if we move to the second half, things change a little bit, right? Montreal does a similar thing that Miami does. They make a sub at the half, right? They put on Hidalgo on for Vera, and the formation changes for Montreal a little bit. They go from a back three, back five to more of a traditional back four and kind of push numbers forward a little bit. We decide not to react, which, again, I was getting a little worried in my seat because I'm like, oh no, this is the same shades of what Miami did, right? And so they make a change. They didn't really get us too badly in the start of the second half. But then once Montreal subs on Piet, and once they sub on Yvonne Jamie, I think Perelman realized we have to find a way to change the game a little bit. To start the second half, we came out similar to how we started the first half, but then we started to give them more and more possession, and we kept kind of challenging them and saying, take the ball, break us down, find a way to beat us, because they just knew Montreal couldn't do it. So then in the 61st minute is where I think you really see Orlando decide to change formation and try to put the game more in our favor, even if we didn't want to possess. So we sub on Zach Taifi for Duncan McGuire. So we take off a pure striker. Striker turns into like a pseudo Ivan Angulo, Atuesta kind of, or not Atuesta, Ojeda, Brian Ojeda, or Tincho. I knew the Ojedas were going to trip me up. Tincho and Angulo start pushing forward as like sort of the pseudo striker to have somebody up there. And then on that same sub, Colin Gusky comes in for Atuesta, sort of to Luisi's point. He looked a little winded. He looked a little like he wasn't 90 minutes fit. So I'm okay with the sub. I understand it. Plus, he was on a yellow card, so you get him out of the game. You don't risk anything else. Gusky comes in. It's a like-for-like sub. But what Zach Taifi does is he comes in and he goes all the way to the left. And Orlando City shifts into like a back five, basically, at that point. Because then it's Taifi. Marin kind of scoots in a little bit with Iago and Brecalo. And then, of course, Dorsey's still out right. And Dorsey's continuing to bomb up and down the wings. And as you saw with Taifi, guy was a madman. He was all over the pitch, especially when he came on.
Yeah, the first ball he touched, he created a goal.
He made that beautiful diagonal run. Yeah, that beautiful diagonal run that he had.
So I mean, clearly Perelman, because he knows the kids, he's gonna play them, and
right.
I thought that was great. Also, I do want to say when it comes to the second half of Montreal, even though they controlled possession and they outshot Orlando in the second half, 18-15, I think overall, poor defending on counters, I think, allowed Orlando's goals. They failed to convert second half pressure into chances. They only had 6 shots on target. And I think that Marco Donadel, the coach, he was very rigid, very tactically. He didn't exploit Orlando's makeshift backline effectively in the second half, and they conceded from turnovers and rebounds. And also, I do want to say that after that, Orlando was just pure defending. I mean, even though Perelman shifted them on a kind of a low block, they conceded 22 shots total, but only 5 were on target. So they kind of bent it, but they didn't break. You know what I mean?
To talk about what Donadel did, though, Luis, like I would have put on like Daniel Rios and really challenged the back line with like Rios and Prince Owusu at the same time and make them kind of defend and do what they need to do. But what was interesting for Orlando City is eventually Tyrese Spicer comes on in the 71st minute. He comes on, he replaces Pasalic, which allows Spicer to kind of play that sort of pseudo striker we've seen him play before. Then everything's kind of reset more likely of what it was going to look like. Spicer gets an easy breakaway that he should have finished and just gets caught in his head and bricks it. And everyone in the stadium and anyone watching is like, this is shades of Angulo last year, right? He's in on goal. There's nobody in front of him. He's got all the time in the world, and he bricks it. And listen, I know we're 4 games in, but we are not seeing the spicy tea we saw last year. I just don't know if his confidence is low. I just don't know if he's just not on the right foot. But I think if everyone's healthy, Spicer's not my first pick off the bench in a situation like that. I think it's somebody like Thiago, maybe, who comes off the bench. If you're looking for a winger, I think at this point you consider Sukata, because I don't see it from Spicer. I'm just not seeing the confidence. I'm not seeing the ability to kind of put that, because that ball should have been put away. It should have been 3-1 at that point, right? And the game is probably out of reach for Montreal, and maybe even some of the possession stats turn over a little bit. But to Luis's point, we bunker hard, and I know some people around me, like the season ticket holders that are with me, are like, oh, here we go again, poppy ball all over again. Well, of course, this team is used to bunkering. We just had Oscar Pareja for 6 years. They know.
I mean, there's going to be some continuity, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
And also, like, Perelman doesn't have time to play it any other way, right? He at least knows that this team knows how to bunker, because we've been doing it, right? So we're aware of sort of how that works and what that looks like and all that kind of stuff. But then Pedro Leal gets on, which shocked me. I didn't think we were going to see Pedro Leal in this game. I really didn't. But Pedro Leal comes on for Martín Ojeda, out of all people, which, again, I was a little surprised by the person he came on for, but he comes on for Teen Show. Then Tahir Reed-Brown comes on for Griffin Dorsey. Taifi switches sides to the right. Reed-Brown comes on there. And Pedro Leal's impact is felt immediately. The guy draws 2 fouls in like almost back-to-back minutes, both free kicks that he ends up with. He looked silky smooth on the ball, like he looked really solid on the ball. He didn't really look out of place, which I thought was a pleasant surprise, considering a guy who's not signed to a first-team contract and hasn't played professional minutes, really, at any level. And so this was really cool to see. And then Reed-Brown even had a breakaway at one point down the left-hand side. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get the ball in a decent enough spot, but he had a breakaway at one point. He was also on the other side of that breakaway that Pedro Leal had, that he couldn't square that ball perfectly over to him, so they left that on the table. But I think the bigger conversation that comes out of it is, look at the kids who played in this game and what they were able to contribute. There's been a lot of talk online that this team doesn't have quality depth and all they have is young depth. And I'm over here to tell you, and again, we have to consider the opponent. I get it. It's Montreal, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But Montreal are also professionals, right? They're in this league. There were a lot of good players still on the field when these kids came on. But you can't take away the fact that Iago played 90 minutes, was 90% passing, had 67% accurate long balls. He had a block, 8 clearances, 2 interceptions, 3 recoveries, won 40% of his aerial duels, and wasn't dribbled past a single time. Those are great stats for any center back in the league. And then if you look at someone like Zach Taifi, he was only on for 29 minutes, but he had a crucial block that saved the game, right? That saved the 3 points. He has 2 clearances, a recovery, an aerial duel one, has that slaloming run that he almost gets a goal on. He got a shot off of it. Colin Gusky comes in. He puts in a shift, 86% passing percentage, a tackle, 4 clearances, won 2 of his ground duels out of the 3 that he had. So my point is, these kids contributed in a lot of different ways. Even the guys we called up on short-term deals came in and contributed. And so that's exactly what you and I were talking about on Thursday, right, Luis? Is Perelman's job is to not only make sure that he can navigate this team so that they don't end up at the bottom, right? But his second part of it is he's got to find out what we have in these young kids, and that's exactly what he did in this game. He really put out the young kids and said, I want to see what these kids have and what they can contribute to. And to be honest with you, Luis, I'm okay with Iago being physical. I get your point of somebody in pro is going to make him pay for that eventually, but I'd rather see him be physical than as passive as he was to start the season, right? He's a big dude. He should be physical.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just the way you do it, right? And when you do it. I think if you're, I'm not opposed to it at all. I mean, dark cards are going to happen as part of the sport, but I think that, he's getting to know the league in a very fast pace, faster than, because of the need, faster than other years for Orlando City, right? I mean, it took Martín Ojeda over 1 season to get the Martín Ojeda that we have now. It took over a season to get the Ivan Angulo that we have now. So I think these kids you're starting to see. I understand it's Montreal. We got to be level-headed because the road ahead is going to be very tough. It's a tough climb, but it gives us, number one, a W, which is what the fans want. It's what your wall wants. It's what everyone wants. But also it injects a little bit of momentum into this team that was heavily hit and went 0-3. So I think on the mindset, it's good for them to win this game, and now they can now build from, fix some of the mistakes that they had and take it over to Nashville. Now we're going to read some comments before we continue analyzing real quick. Aziz Guilla Carlos says, let's go. Basically, keep vamos Leones, we did it, and what great showing from the lads. How are you guys feeling? Okay, we already talked about it. Thank you. Basically, keep. Jeffrey O, Orlando City is ready to mighty morph. There you go. Io Angulo, an apology. He carried that game. I do want to say this, though. You guys don't have to apologize for absolutely nothing. I mean, this is a sport. It changes all the time. Even myself as press. I mean, that's the beautiful game for you. Press could be saying, hey, or podcast or whatever, digital media could be saying, hey, Tyrese Spicer is crapping the bed. Like, what's going on? They put the questions out there for everybody to discuss and put the discussion points. But then Tyrese Spicer in the next game, he could have a hat trick. And that's the beautiful thing about the game is like it gives the ability to the player to take that criticism and build upon that, fuel that fire and come out swinging. I mean, that's the whole point of this. It's not to be negative or be, just a troll. It's for also it gives a little fire to some of these players, some competitiveness. So I don't think there's an apology needed. I mean, it's your opinion. Glad Angulo stepped up because now that Oscar's gone, his spot isn't safe. Probably trying to impress Felipe Luis, said Jeffrey O. Game was great. Everyone was loud that night. Even the coach was hyping us up. Love it. Yeah, I do want to say that's the atmosphere that we should get every game. I mean, that was outstanding. I mean, even the Montreal people didn't even come out their cubby hole. The communications crew there from Montreal that flew down. So
I will say I would have liked to see more people in the stands themselves, but I understand not getting a sellout after what happened with this team. So I'm not surprised by that.
So this is the Angulo we want to need: speed, complexity, vision, and determination. Yeah, and I mean he kind of had a little bit of a leadership voice as well. I was able to speak to him, and he said, yeah, even though I'm young, now I have to kind of carry the ball, and kind of me and Martin have to work with some of the oldest ones here. So we gotta kind of take that flag out and that Orlando mojo and the whole aura has to be spread through the whole entire team, right? It says the new manager usually wins the first game. It was Montreal week. We have to wait and see how Orlando develop. Of course, I agree. That's what I said. We need to be level-headed.
But 3 points is 3 points with a team that hasn't won all 100%. Season. So you take what you can get.
I'm from the mentality of wins. The wins you celebrate and you take as many wins as you need. You know what I mean? You don't want to be, but you want to be level-headed, right? But not be like, oh, we are the champions of the world, or the world champs, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we gotta be,
we just own Montreal this weekend. That's all.
100%. Yeah, this is even though we got scared on there was visible, no big deal. Let's just embarrass them again mentality. Orleans was taking this match to the grave, home, hell, or water. So Carmona is of Venezuela. Well, when I meant Spanish, is kind of the word Hispanic. So I mean, he was Hispanic. So, but yeah, let's face it, Montreal was weak. I agree, but I'm not gonna be like, oh bother, I hate. Oh my God! I wish I would have won 3-0.
A weak team that beat New York Red Bulls 3-0 the week prior, right, and a team that embarrassed us week 1.
You're asking me to not be myself and be a Debbie Downer. I mean, I can, bro. I can't help it. The one thing I would love to see is more ball possession and better passing. I'm happy. I mean, that's going to happen eventually. I think it's all about connections. Don't you feel? I mean, clearly after the Ojeda goal, there were
Yeah.
better connections.
Yeah, and I think that's when Perelman gets more time, that's the stuff you'll start to see change, because Perelman, I mean, it really at the end of the day depends on how Perelman wants to play. But if he wants more possession, this team will go out and get more possession. With OCB, when he was coaching them, possession wasn't the number one thing on his mind, but the way he would attack gave OCB possession, the edge in possession often. So I don't know that you're going to go and see this team go the other way where we're just going to possess the ball for 60% of the time and all that kind of stuff. But I do think you're going to see us have better possession. I just, again, think this team has been so well drilled over the last 6 years of like, hey, we're up. We need to bunker. We need to sit in. We need to make the block hard. That Perelman wasn't going to change that in 2 or 3 days, right? He needs more time to change how they want to go about that.
100%. This is here, Ruckus Racing 419. After the 61st minute subs, we didn't just park the bus. We put it up on blocks, took the wheels off, and dug a moat around it. Yeah, you're completely right. I like that, man. I think that's what fans wanted. Again, it's new. We're going to have training wheels. I think this game was a game to see a lot of, where the players stand mentally. And I think some of the newcomers like Brian Ojeda, to me, Brian Ojeda, apart from Angulo, he deserved to be MVP.
Absolutely.
Do you know, David, 100%. How many miles did Ivan Angulo run in this game?
I don't actually. I'd be interested to know.
7 miles.
Whew.
And the dude did a press conference after that.
I know.
And the dude was.
We'll talk about it.
And he said that the reason why he's able to do this is because, and he said, I get my sleep. Literally, he said, I get my 8-9 hours.
Good.
I go to bed early. I eat right, and I come to training, and I with the best attitude possible.
He must not have kids, because all that sounds like a pretty.
No, he does. He does have kids, but
wow,
obviously,
good for him for balancing all that out.
Yeah, but it's his career, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, no, hey, good for him, because I know people struggle with that, right? We've talked about
100%.
that a lot.
Iago will turn into a beast by season. This is John Rollins. Thank you, John. Appreciate you,
John. You know how high I am on Iago. Luis, real quick on the previous comment about like being defensive and all that kind of stuff. The one thing I don't agree with in Perelman in this game, I thought his subs were pretty good, is I would have loved to see Otavio in this game, because I think Otavio would have been a perfect person to lock down the game a little bit. Not to take anything away from Gusky, because Gusky had a solid performance, but I think we need to see more of Luis Otavio, and the bit that we did see from him, and obviously the things I've seen when I watched him with Internacional, is he's a wrecker, man. He's going to run through people. He's going to get the ball back. He's going to do all those things. So this game to me felt like this might have been a good bring on Iago, or bring on Otavio and kind of close down the game a little bit. But I mean, the subs were fine, right? But I would have loved to see, personally, a little bit of Otavio.
Yeah, I mean, Otavio just got called up for the Brazil under-20
I saw that.
For the March game. So, I don't know. I think, I mean, Gusky, one thing I feel like probably, maybe, this is pure speculation again. Maybe he felt, you know what? I already kind of saw Otavio. Let me just see, because the moment, I mean, you needed those players in the second half to come out with a knife on in their mouth. You know what I mean? Just come fighting, kind of like what Taifi did when he came in. Yeah, Taifi came in, it was just kind of like an adrenaline shot. And so obviously Gusky, Taifi, because they're homegrowns, and I mean, this is a club that has done so much for them since they were like little kids. Clearly, they have a love for this club that they're going to come out, and they don't care if they have Messi in front, if they have Ronaldo in front, they're going to go and fight. Yeah. And I think that's what Perelman maybe did it, maybe with Otavio. Also, maybe they're saving them from Brazil. Maybe they're saying, hey, heal up completely from your injury, and we're gonna try Gusky, but your spot's fine. And also Brazil's coming up at the end of the month, so we don't want you to. It could be that too. I mean, it happens. This is here. Ha ha ha! Hilarious ruckus is agree. John says, Adriana, thank you so much. Taifi show why we rate him. There, 100%. Brazilian style is more physical. There you go. They beat Montreal, says Alonso. We need to see this weekend. There you go.
Agreed.
In Angulo, I always trust. Where are the soccer insiders? LOL.
Tell that to last season. He had 4 assists and 4 yellow cards in 2,600 minutes. Tell me that was enough for a starting left winger.
Montreal have more possessions, says Alonso.
It's just a stat. It doesn't matter if you don't win the game.
If I'm a player, criticism is an opportunity to prove everyone wrong. That's the way. Yeah, that's the way it should be all the time. You know
Agreed.
what I mean? To me, like, as long as you do it with respect and you're not bashing the player, because you don't want to bash the player, right? You don't want to say, "Oh, fuck this guy." I mean, I understand it's the way we talk now and all of that, but it's like we're scuffed. Scuffed. You can mask it as scuffed, but it's just pissing people off, right? You don't want to be scuffed. You want to be able to constructive criticism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not anymore. Jen, he started whistling. John,
he started whistling. He meant when he corrected it the line afterwards.
Oh, it says when he started whistling to hype the crowd to finish the game was so refreshing and fun to see from a manager. That's right. Not only that, but also
he played right into the Orlando City chant as well. It was like worked out perfectly. So good.
Not only that, and then Gusky asking for the crowd, like
Taifi did it too. The two of them.
Yeah, I was like, come on, and that's exactly what you want, man. I mean, you want that.
Sure. And the other thing, and I'm sure you saw this all night, Luis, the defenders, when they made good plays, like Brekalo did this a couple times, and Marin did it too. Every time they got up, they were celebrating a great tackle or a great clearance or a great recovery. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see. Like, get fired up, get hyped. Like, that's what you want to see from those guys.
I read that in the Army in 56 minutes. Come on. Oh, in the 7 miles? Come on, man. Don't be bragging, man. I know. Thank you, Alonso. It says, where Iago and Marin has solid shifts, they looked aggressive and physical. They played with emotion finally, says WOR 6766. Says John Rollins, I saw that Donnie was hyping the West Side up. Second goal was pure sex. No, and that Angulo play, I mean, don't tell me that's not Vini Jr., man. That's some Vini Jr. stuff. I always call him the Vini Jr. from Orlando. He's Vinicius Jr., but like he finishes a play like Ivan Angulo. You know what I mean? That's why he doesn't play Real Madrid. Spicy Gnocchi. Nashville has to go play Miami before they play us. Hopefully that's a plus. Dorsey plays to the crowd like Adrian Winter did. Oh, Adrian Winter. I haven't heard of this name in a long time. Well, I wonder when we start losing the spontaneity. Sorry.
Yeah.
Some players miss so many great opportunities because you're looking for the perfect ball. Well, just shoot the ball and try to fix it. Yeah, true.
I think Adriana in this game, they were very good at like, don't make the extra pass, just shoot it. Like make the pass to get in the box, but then shoot it. Make the ball, shoot it. Like that's exactly what you needed to do there.
Is this the best game Angulo has had in purple? It's up there, in my opinion, says John.
Could be.
I agree.
Could be.
Yeah, it's probably top 3 at least. Probably his best in my opinion. I mean, just that setup play was just pure silky, man. It was.
Well, I want to and Luis, I want to give him credit for wearing the armband to end the game too, because I thought he did exactly what he should have done for that short amount of time. Wearing the armband. I'll say this, like, I'm sure a lot of people were shocked by it. I was surprised, but I'm like, listen, man, he's going to carry the weight of the armband. Let's see what he does. Let's see how he holds himself. He didn't get overly emotional. I saw him chatting with a couple players as the game was winding down, where to be, how to play it. Just honestly, a top night through and through for Angulo. We're going to talk about his press conference in a little bit, but like the guy was class the entire night, and that's exactly what we needed from him.
Says I agree. I want to see more of Luis Otavio as Ruben Perez. Yeah, we're probably going to see him more. Iago and Marin had solid shifts. They look aggressive and physical. Marin he played his best game.
Best game in purple for him by far.
100%. I
Not
mean,
not
if
even
he's
close.
to the point that I was telling Alonso over the phone when he called me, he's like, "Hey, how's it going over there?" I was like, "Yo, Marin is playing like he's in Villarreal." It's like he only played 100 minutes with him.
So you wanna hear the stats on Marin? Just to
Yeah,
like get
sure.
perspective. So he played all 90 minutes, right? His passing was okay. 40% passing. What it is. But here's his defensive contributions. He had 11 defensive contributions. He had 4 tackles, 1 last man tackle, so he was the last guy back, 1 block, 5 clearances, 1 interception, 1 recover, and was dribbled past 0 times in that match. And then on top of it, he won 5 of 8 of his ground duels, won his 1 aerial duel, and only committed 2 fouls the entire game. That's exactly what we need out of Adrian Marine. Exactly what we need out of him. And then one more person that I want to hype up a little bit because we've been talking about Brian Ojeda a lot. Here's the stat line for Brian Ojeda to tell you how filthy of a game he had. Full 90 minutes, right? He was 92% accurate on his passes for the game. He had 35 out of 38 passes. On top of that, he had 54 touches, which is the second highest on the entire team for the game. He was successful on his dribbles twice, with 6 for 7 on his long balls. And then on defense, he had 2 blocks, 2 clearances, an interception, 5 recoveries, won 6 of his 7 ground duels, was fouled 4 times, and only fouled 1 time. Those are crazy stats for a midfielder and exactly what we need from Brian Ojeda. Imagine, no insult to Atuesta, imagine if Wilder Cartagena was healthy and Wilder was on his level of what we know Wilder Cartagena can do. Those two together, the dreams that I have about that double pivot is nuts.
Yeah, that's what I feel bad because that's what Pape would have loved. But
He would have loved it.
You know what I mean? It happens. It says Spicer and Liao missed great opportunities face to face with the goalie. Well, I do want to say a great comment, but number one, the Montreal goalkeeper, it wasn't a bad outing for him. I want to give him credit.
Yeah,
but I do expect it for a Spicer. You cannot miss that, bro. I mean, you're supposed to be, like you're supposed to have national team experience. You know what I mean? And that sets you apart from everybody. That's number one. So there's something not clicking there. And then with Leao, I mean, if you want to, for somebody for his stature playing in Omengao, like in Flamengo, like you cannot miss. You're Brazilian, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, with all the respect, I understand. I mean, shit happens, but you just don't want to miss that. I do agree. Now, I do want to say, obviously, he was probably nervous. He was probably like trying to impress, and I totally understand. He's gonna get it somehow. You know what? He could go off anytime. I mean, like with less pressure and less of a baggage, he's shown he can score. Like, look at what he's doing at OCB.
Can I be honest? If that's Justin Ellis, I think that's on target at least,
100%.
Potentially in the net. And again, I'm not taking away anything from Pedro Leao. It's just I think this is the difference between an in-form player and a player that's getting into form. Like Leao's starting to like round into form a little bit, but Justin Ellis has been on since week 1, and I'm just saying that I think if he's in this game, that ball probably is on target or potentially in the back of the net. I like the ball that he's trying to play to Reed Brown. I get where his head is at. I understand where he's trying to go. But you got to know in that moment, that defender's winded, right? He's been sprinting back trying to catch Pedro Leao. He's not going to get you, dude. There's no way he's going to put in a solid tackle. All you got to do is head towards the post and put a ball on net. And your chances are high at that point. I think the Spicer one was more egregious, though, than obviously his was. Because Spicer, as a professional, has got to finish that.
No, I wanted everyone's opinion, and you can put it on the comments. We'll reach you. Javier Otero. He knew he was getting the start in this match, and I personally felt he was better prepared than NYCFC, obviously. I don't think he was at fault at the Montreal's goal.
Like I said, I think it was a foul. So that's where I stand on it. But it was called the way it was called.
He made also a really good save in the second half. and he had a few stops throughout. Unlike Crepeau, he didn't handle the ball outside the box. So he didn't cost the Lions the match, which it's something that backup keeper should do in every game. So it might not really, I mean, it looks, what I'm trying to say is, and again, I'm not trying to knock down Crepeau. He's, I think the club has made it clear that they want him as their number one. But I think if we see another 80-20 game from Otero or 70-30, and Crepeau still cramping the bed, he's gonna have another thing coming. And that's one thing that we said on the preview of this season with John and David was, it's Crepeau is the type of, he's an MLS goalkeeper. So it's gonna be, for any coach out there, it's going to be probably easier to bench, if there's somebody coming from behind, doing a better job. So if Otero is quacking like a duck, he needs to be the number one, right? I mean, I think Perelman needs to have the pants to call it if it's not working out with Crepeau. So, but at least for this game, he was okay. Yeah. What are your thoughts there on Otero, David?
Yeah, I mean, I went into the season saying I felt like the goalkeeping core was weak. I like, he had a decent to good game. I wouldn't put him much past that. He had some crucial saves down the end that I think give him a lot of credit, but I am with you in the fact of, I would say if Crepeau doesn't have it against Nashville, I think you give Otero another start after the international break. I think it's only fair at that point. You probably don't, because you're playing LAFC, so I doubt that you come out against LAFC and maybe throw Otero into that, since they got to travel to LA. What I will say is, don't be surprised if, and I don't think it's going to happen this season, but it could happen in the silly season or the season afterwards, if Tristan Himes keeps balling out for OCB, that's a name that's going to get added to this roster eventually. And I think that kid can be very competitive with these two guys, right? Because, again, Crepeau is really just playing because he wants to start for Canada in the summer, right? And both him and Dane St. Clair have not been great to start the season. Like, nobody can argue that. And so right now it's who's not going to be worse than the other one, right? That's kind of the competition they're having right now. And so Crepeau's going to want to get every single game he can get leading up to the World Cup in the hopes that he can try to get the starting job. Now, if this defense is as solid as it was on Saturday, and again, I understand the opponent, but if this defense starts to become more solid and Marin continues to have the games that he had, Iago can take a step up, Brekalo can continue to play his game, then maybe Crepeau has a better defense in front of him, and maybe he plays better, and maybe we see the first shutout for Orlando City this season, and maybe we see things like that. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sold by either one of them. It's not a slight. It's just, that's what I see on the field right now. And I can see a possibility where next season, like in the silly season, or when the new coach comes in, we see another academy keeper come up and try to compete for that job, or we go out and get a keeper. Like maybe we decide to go out in the market and get one. But I think this team right now would like to build. One of the things that this academy very much has is their keeper pipeline is nuts, man. Because then it's like Otero obviously is our guy. Tristan Himes is right behind him. Behind him is Juan Rojas. Behind Juan Rojas, there's like two kids in the academy that are doing very well. So like we've got a keeper pipeline, which is kind of nuts.
It's funny because Orlando never had that throughout history.
Right.
So like, I mean, the OGs are gonna remember we had some keepers. Right. And we had some keepers, like John could probably tell you, our first goalkeeper, bro, I would have goalkeeped better than that guy. Donovan Ricketts, with all due respect, I understand what you did with Jamaica. But bro, come on. Like, I mean, the dude, like, butter hands, straight up. So I mean, it says let's on De Gea. It says no, come on. It says how long is the silly season? Says Daniel Vega.
We don't know yet. I think it starts around like late January, early February, and runs through like early June, and then there's like a month break before we start the new calendar. But none of that has like come out yet from MLS, so we'll have to wait a little bit longer. Because remember, we make the full schedule swap next fall.
It says, what do you think? What do you think are the chances that Otero eventually just smacks Max out of his starting spot? Well, if Maxime Crepeau has another craps the bed again,
or
if
gets
I'm
another
the
red
coach,
card,
like if I'm the coach, like I'm sorry, but Otero, whether he has four fingers and or one hand, like he's gonna start for me. Rickos just took the L versus OCB. Says, there you go. There you go, John. This is how long is the silly season? Neymar in purple will be a dream, says Donnie Moore. I think Neymar will be great in TAM if it's TAM, and you know what I mean. Just
you know
cheap
why?
contract.
You know why he won't? Because he's never healthy. That's why he won't. He's never healthy.
He's struggling with Santos right now.
He didn't get called up in the March window either, so the chances of him making the World Cup are low.
Well, they're low, but I do feel Ancelotti is going to bring him in either way.
Well, did you see what Ancelotti said? He's got to be 100% healthy in order to make the World Cup.
Coaches say that, but
we'll see. If anyone's going to hold his
all
word.
I'm saying is this: when you read, I'm just saying, when you and with all due respect to the Brazilians, the pedigree and all of that, but when you, I mean, look, I've seen the 2002 Brazil was like look at that, all the names. When you look at the names of that roster, bro, you see a former Orlando City center back, Leo Pereira.
I saw
Leo
he got
Pereira
called up.
is being called up.
I saw that.
You know what I mean? Like, what are the odds?
What a crazy time.
Right. Like, the only name that you see, oh, shit, it's Rafinha, bro. The rest of them, with all due respect, it doesn't look like the same Brazil. I'm not trying to, and again, Argentina is the same thing. I think this, and again, this is just a crazy prediction. I think this year, South America, it's not at the level yet. I think we're going to see a European champion. It's just my opinion. Because Harvey and Ellis, I think, are going to give Spiceman a run for his money. That missed opportunity was something you only see in high school ball. Yeah, I mean, it could change any time, but I do think that Harvey Sarajian and Justin Ellis have a.
And we'll talk about them a little bit later when we cover the
OCB
game.
Ellis has the contract. So
yeah, that's true.
So
well, so
Ellis,
does Harvey. Well, so does Harvey.
Yeah,
Harvey got signed to a senior team contract. Yeah.
This is Ellis and Harvey need to be involved. Hopefully, we see him soon in the first team also. No pun intended. During the second half, the wall had a wall. We became a brick wall, stopping shots, making one career rethink strategy entirely. It's been a very long time since we've seen this.
I will say this, Keeb. I think against a better team, we get scored on. I'm just going to be honest. There were some chances that, like, if a better team is on the field, we probably end up with a draw. So I would like us to be more pragmatic and on the front foot, closing out games like that. We need to have a strategy. I'm okay with the low block, but then have the counter set up to go and get that. I know Spicer, pissed one away, and I know Liao didn't do well with one either, but we need to have more of a plan than just that.
And then we're going to talk about the press conference. I mean, just very easy. Obviously Martín Perelman and Duncan and also Ivan Angulo were there. Martín opened up with this, obviously, it says, of course, I want to mention Oscar Pareja. The way he took care of us this week made me feel proud of the culture we have here. He knows how much everyone at the club loves him, to our players, the way they fight, the way they compete, the way they represent the jersey, as it deserves to be represented. I'm really happy for this group. Then it says here, on the personal significance that the result had on the group, is that, to be honest with you, I only think about the players. I'm happy for them. They deserve it. I am so grateful for Mark, Will, Ricardo, and Oscar, the players and the fans. I'm not thinking about myself. If I'm being honest, that's how I feel about this victory. Um, and then in the team, regarding the team's game plan, it says, in 48 hours, you really don't have much time to give the players a lot of information, but the truth is that it was more than 48 hours. We have been working this whole season hard. We try to be pragmatic, again, the word, and versatile. We try to put a lot of energy into a difficult context and bring some happiness to our people. We embraced the situation and fought. But again, this game belonged to the players. They put an amazing effort. This win is only because of them. They are the protagonists. They did it. What are your thoughts on Perlman, man?
Yeah,
Perlman.
I think he just said all the right things that he needed to say, right? You know, he gave tribute to Oscar and those before him. There were some reports that came out that Oscar, before the announcement on, what was it, Wednesday, kind of worked with Perlman to just make sure he was ready to take over and all that kind of stuff. I didn't think for a minute, and we talked about this in the offseason, I didn't think for a minute Diego Torres was going to stay and coach this team. I know there were reports that apparently that was the plan, but with Oscar going, there was no way his main guy was going to stay behind and do it. I always thought Perlman was going to get the opportunity after it was all said and done. It's just normally how these coaching things go, right? Is normally...
Yeah, well, typically, so from my understanding, and I know Alonso said it, but it was easy. So for what the way I was explained was Diego, the whole time Diego was supposed to take over, but that was a decision that they made. But then they asked Diego, like they made the decision. So even Pareja said, "Hey, no, Diego will take over. Let Diego take over." And everybody was in the agreement of that. And then Diego said, "No, you know what? I'm not. If Oscar brought me here, I'm leaving with him."
Yeah.
So,
well, that's my point, is that I never thought, I personally never thought that Diego Torres was going to stay.
It has happened before. It has happened before in other teams and in other leagues. It happens sometimes.
Right. I just, the way that I know their relationship was, especially with the Bassan brothers, I just didn't think it was going to happen that way. But I will say this. I think Perlman said the right things to start off his press conference. I think he was almost too humble, and I get it, but I think he was a little too humble, saying like the players did it, and the players did do it. What I'm really curious to see, though, with Perlman, as he gets a full week of training in this week, and then he'll get the international break as well, I really want to see him put more of his imprint on the game. He comes from a very unique style of football. He's Argentinian. He's been with a couple clubs down there. Obviously, he's been with OCB for a little while. OCB was very much a lot of gas and not so much with the brakes, right? So I really want to see what Perlman can put together. I think he is a very good right-hand man in Goldberg. I think Goldberg is a nice supplement to him. There were reports that came out today that he brought in another coach as well to assist with the team, which, guys, just to put out there, is not uncommon. Even if you're an interim, you want to fill out your staff, right, to make sure you have enough pieces on the bench in order to, play games and be in the right spot and all that kind of stuff. I do think he gave the players, the perfect amount of credit. But to be honest with you, Luis, my favorite press conference was Iván Angulo's. We don't get an opportunity to speak to Iván Angulo post-game a lot. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we really talk to Iván Angulo often. But I thought he was very humble. I think he answered the questions very well. Obviously, I don't speak Spanish, so I relied on your translations and everything to help us out with that. So thank you, Luis, for putting that out there and all that. And I know their translator for Orlando City does a good job as well, but to give more context and things like that, I just thought Angulo answered the questions well. I think he understood what he was being asked. The club put forward the players that I think we wanted to see, right? Like all these players were involved in the goals and the win and all that kind of stuff. So
you got to bring them in. I mean, it was and again, I do want to tell this to, and I know the club is probably watching, guys, bring the protect, even if it's an L, like people want to hear from, the protagonists, you know what I mean?
If Marin has another good week, I'd love to hear from Marin, because we don't really hear from him post-game, but he's a guy I think that maybe deserved to be it. Brian Ojeda was another one that I think deserved to potentially be somebody that, the folks talked to this week, because I think he had a stellar game, obviously. But I just say, yeah, Angulo's was the one that stole the show for me. This is no slight to Duncan, but I just I don't think he's very conversational. I think he just gets right to the point, tells you what you want to hear, and he moves on. And I get that. Maybe he just doesn't like having, those big conversations or whatever it is. But a good chunk of the players were very much still playing for Oscar, and I appreciate that. I would have maybe liked to hear a little bit more of we also understand what the mood in the stadium was with Kay retiring. I know it wasn't the biggest thing on the team's mind, but you could feel that in the atmosphere, and I just felt like nobody really addressed that, so I thought that was kind of weird. And I get it, because Oscar also left the same week, and that's, tactically and all that kind of stuff, that's the bigger impact. But all in all, I thought it was a good presser. I think Perelman's doing a great job ingratiating himself to the fan base so far, hyping everybody up, getting everybody excited about it. But what I want to see also with this guy is, what does he do when his back's against the wall? What happens if the team is down, 1-0, 2-0? What is he going to do to inspire this team? What is he going to do to change tactics and all that? So,
well, the next 3 games are, if Orlando City comes out alive out of the next 3 games, this is going to be pivotal for what's coming for Orlando City in the next, even before the World Cup, and I will explain that in a little bit.
LAFC will be their biggest test. Will be their biggest test by far.
Yeah, I do want to say, though, it was a weird timing when it came to the whole case situation, mixed with John's departure of the pod, mixed with the coaching decision. I do want to say, none of that has anything to do you know what I mean, they're not linked whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I do want to emphasize to the people that are watching and listening, this is how you know when somebody covers the team and covers the league and when they don't. I'm very surprised that our bigger fishes in the sea, in the journalism sea, that have years of talking on talk radio, years on putting stuff about other sports, and they write a whole damn article, literally pure speculation, which is number 1 no in journalism, and number 2, tying Kay's departure with Oscar's firing, or I mean, pretty much they said on there kind of he was let go. No, he was not. I mean, they're part of mutual part of ways. So I mean, complete disconnect from the whole thing. That tells you this person is not on the Orlando this person who wrote this article was not at the Orlando Montreal game. So if you only come when Messi plays, or you only come when there's a final or when there's a semifinal, then you're not covering the team. You either give full coverage or don't talk about it, because they wrote a whole article about bringing Inchi. And I mean, I like Inchi, bro. Great guy, man. But I mean, that tells you the level of disconnect that you have, not only with the fan base, the product, if you want to see it on a business level, the team. Come cover some games. I would like to see you with the peasants. I would like to see you with the peasants. I include myself as one of the peasants. Come to the, come over here. Come see Orlando Houston. You know what I mean? Come cover. Because the only way you can talk about it, the only way you can talk about it is if you come cover.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why are you talking about it?
Or show up to the OCB game against Inter Miami 2 that's going to be at the big stadium.
All three things have nothing to do with each other. And that, to be honest with you, and I know I'm getting a little far, that pissed me off. Because I'm like, you know what I had to do this weekend? I had to stay on a 2.5 hour freaking weather delay. Got home like almost 1 in the morning. No, 12 midnight almost. Then I had to edit stuff. Fell asleep editing. First time ever. I had to go to work this morning. Like, and then so where is this guy, Mr. High and Mighty, with that only comes when Messi plays or comes when there's a final? And he writes a whole article about knowing that and I'm telling you guys, if you're a fan, you blame people that are there at the box or people that are independent media of rage bait, of maybe not writing the way you like, or being too digital. Well, that MFer, doesn't go to any games, and he's in a freaking big outlet writing nonsense. So I really want to say that because I thought it was stupid. I almost had a brain hemorrhage reading that stuff. The club let him and Kravitz interview Ricardo at the final whistle. Neither of them covered the team or no ball. There you go, John. It says Orlando versus Houston is going to feed families, says Daniel Vega. Mike Bianchi's Does I think Angulo has a season in 3 games without a goal? He's the winger, says Ruben Perez. I know, sir, but bro, that's why he's not playing in Barcelona, man. I wish I could bring Rafinha over, but you know what I mean? I think he only has time to work on pressing. I'm talking about Perelman. Notice first half of our pressing was much better, or at least we actually were pressing unlike the first 3 games. Yeah, I mean, I think if you compare Oscar and it's hard to compare. I mean, obviously we don't want to compare, but if you wanted me to give you the complete, and I don't know if you think the same way, David, but I feel Pareja's first 3 losses, conceding 11 goals with offensive lapses, poor transitions. He had his conservative approach, and then the back line he put out just lacked energy, 0 points. What we saw against Montreal, and I understand it's Montreal, don't shoot me. 4-2-3-1, quick counters, wing speed, 2 first half goals. Better organization, only 1 goal conceded and a win. It kind of seemed like Pareja was very rigid to Perelman kind of be more versatile, and the goals are going to boost morale either way. So that's what happened. Duncan scored a goal. He was more motivated, dude. Just made more sense. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I know I spoke too much.
Yeah, I mean, let me say this. I'm, like everyone else, I have an acquired taste in the media that I prefer over others and all that kind of stuff. And as somebody who, highlights on our website fairly often, because now I'm a sort of written person sort of in the space, and I don't sit in the press box, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I need to, or that someone is better than me or I'm better than them for not, or whatever it is. But I'm all for us having discussions back and forth till we're blue in the face, as long as we all understand what we're talking about and who we're talking about and what we're showing up for and all that kind of other stuff. But once you stop covering something fully, when you don't have the facts right, when you don't follow the sport, when you don't follow the local community, which I think we have a pretty strong fan base, as well as a pretty strong podcasting space and all that kind of stuff. And I want to shout out our friends over at Lions Den, the In 90 Minutes guys, the guys over at Soccer Show who came back this year, Michael Citro and David Rowe over at The Mainland who did their podcast. We're all folks that put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into covering this in our own unique way, right? But we're covering it from fact to fact, from tape to tape. Do you know how many hours I spent this offseason following player transfer rumors? You know how many hours I spent this season scouting players I watched almost 40 games of Luis Otavio. I watched 20 games of Thiago. I watched 20 games of Iago alone, not counting all the other players that we brought in. I watched over 100 games of just those players. I did a full draft breakdown of not only my draft board, but also of our draft picks. I'm not asking everyone to put the same level of commitment and desire into it, but I would like to say I know ball. I know this team fairly well. And it's an insult to those of us that follow this team and cover this team and research this team to come out here and say something as ridiculous as all these moves are linked and our only savior is to bring back a coach who hasn't coached in a few years and hasn't been in Orlando for even longer. Bro, like, what the frick are we talking about?
He's watering his plants. Ain't with all due respect, great guy. He's watering his plants right now. Like he's watering his plants somewhere. All I'm saying is this. And again, if I write a piece that it's pure speculation, that is talking a bunch of nonsense, the first people who call me is the club. All I'm at, and again, I'm just saying, if the club read that piece, I hope somebody told them, hey, man, what the hell are you talking about? Like, how can you tie one and one together?
Luis, like, I'll say this to play just a tiny bit of devil's advocate.
Because then I could also write speculative articles.
Well, Luis, I was gonna say this to give a little bit of devil's advocate here. When you go into this, as any writer would know, if you start the article off with opinion, and what your opinion is, everyone before they read the piece understands this is your opinion. Or in your sort of entry, your introduction paragraph, you say, hey, this is my opinion on where I think this club is going. But you don't take it as far as saying Oscar and Kay and these people are all linked and we're losing the culture of the club now and all this other crap.
Right. He's saying we're losing the culture now. But again, fans, please read between the lines. He's doing that so you can retweet him. So when you retweet and you put, this guy sucks, he doesn't know anything, you're giving him what he wants. That's just what I'm trying to say.
Just mute him.
You should like what I'm trying to say is you should retweet LPO. You should retweet like Lions Den. You should retweet, Mike Ramajo, Alonso. Like you should retweet that.
Well,
why would you retweet this guy that's trying to tell you that there's no culture in the club? And I'm gonna go a little further. They don't watch the sport. They don't.
Yeah.
Like, with all due respect, I mean, they don't even bother to go to an Orlando-Houston game.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Were they at Pride yesterday? Were they at Pride yesterday,
Luis?
Luis?
We were not at Pride. You know who was at Pride?
It was a home opener. It was a home opener for a championship level squad.
Yeah, it was obviously the media. It was the people to do the numbers. He was Austin, Kyle Foley,
shout out to Austin David,
Michael, Brian, and that's pretty much it. And me, literally. Yeah. So again, I'm just saying, it's like you guys gotta understand. Like I understand. Like I could be in radio too. I mean, but like shit, like. Unbelievable! I read that and I was like, "This is." I hope you got. I hope you got a call.
Let me close.
I get a call. I get a call for less of a.
Yeah.
For less shit than that.
Let me close with this. As I was kind of alluding to beforehand, I'm more than happy to go round and round with any fan, media person, media outlet, whatever it is, about my opinions on the match. I have different opinions about football than Luis has different opinions about football, as Michael Citro, the guys over at the Lions Den, the guys over at In 90 Minutes. Keeb and I have talked a lot of football on Instagram. We all have different opinions, right? I'm okay with all of us having different opinions as long as we're educated to a certain level, right? I know some people were still thinking Oscar was never going to go, and Oscar went last week, right? There have been other times where people are saying, no, we can't play this guy, he's not good, and he ends up being good, or vice versa, right? I'm all for that conversation. But this fan base has elevated, right? This fan base is not early 2010s Orlando City fan base where we're new to the league and some of us are new to soccer, right? That's not the case here. It's just not. We've talked about it all offseason. This fan base has elevated its education on what it understands about football. I mean, even 5 or 10 years ago, could you imagine us having conversations about what managers could potentially take over for Orlando City?
100%.
There are so many in-depth and great conversations, and not just about names, but about tactics, about does this fit the culture of Orlando City? Like, those are the conversations we should be having.
Yeah, and not only that, and I'm gonna say this, I mean, I'm not trying to knock down anyone. But for example, compared to Miami and compared to Tampa, Orlando, when you go to Mills, when you go to Pine Street, and or you even go to, one of the, where the Social is. I forgot the name of it now, but it used to be called the Social. There's bars and stuff like that. You go there. Like, you go and you sit down, you go to Will's Pub, you sit down, and there's people wearing Orlando City stuff. There's people that could talk to you about, they have the game on, they have soccer on, you know what I mean? So, like, there's a culture that it's been brewing for a while now, and you can speak about the sport, talk about the sport. And I've been to Miami, and over there, it's more like the Latin flair, because there's more, Spanish people there, and it's easier. But usually before Inter Miami, they didn't have no team. I mean, you can go back to 94, but I mean, they will talk about Barcelona, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, you know what I mean? There wasn't really. Now the whole Inter thing is brand new. Same with Tampa. I mean, Tampa, with all due respect, the Rowdies, I mean, so Orlando has has a one up on culture than I think the rest of the state, and soccer culture. I mean,
sure.
And I think we're building on it, and I think we should continue. Now, let's discuss Perelman, because we have it on our agenda. Obviously, I know you have some info on the coaching search, David.
Yeah. So, we talked about this last week on the show. There was an article that came out that said Orlando City was kicking the tires on a couple of different managers, specifically in South America. Felipe Luis, to a lot of fans' delight, was on that list of someone that we've kind of kicked the tires on. To see Hernan Crespo was on that list. There were Dominic Torrent was on that list. There was a few different people that were on that list. There were a few things that came out over the weekend where Felipe Luis was approached by Cruzeiro because they just fired Tite. What was it, yesterday? I think it was. I think it was this morning or yesterday. Pour one out for Tite. He's now on his third or fourth team in as many years. That guy just can't keep a job to save his life. They apparently kicked the tires on Felipe Luis, and apparently Felipe Luis's camp said he's not interested in taking another coaching job in Brazil, that he would like to go manage abroad, is basically what he's looking to do. Now, there were other reports that came out throughout the day, and by abroad, a lot of people were saying that his agency wanted to sell him to Europe and try to find a gig in Europe, and they were going to head over there in a couple of weeks and try to get some offers out there. What that says to me, though, is that there is not a permanent offer out there right now to bring Felipe Luis to Europe. So what I'm saying is it's time for the club, if they haven't already, to pick up the phone and call Felipe Luis and say, what is it going to take for us to get you in the door, right? We've got a great Brazilian flair that we're building over here. This is not Brazil. This is a challenging league. If you can go and win us an MLS Cup, you're going to look great. You're going to be able to do all of these things. We plan to play in international competitions like in CCC and all those kind of things. The World Cup is going to be here in the summer. So don't you want to be here anyway so you can live and breathe it and do all of those things? So there's a potential that Felipe Luis could be on the table still because he doesn't look like he wants to go coach in Brazil. Moving a little bit further than that, there was some discourse on Twitter and a couple other social media sites today because Alonso and a few other people put out there that Perelman is bringing in another assistant manager to help supplement the squad. Personally, this is my opinion now. Personally, this means nothing to me, and I'll explain why. You have to have a big enough staff to navigate the season. We already know that Ricardo said that they're going to give Perelman probably a little bit more time than people expect because they want to be able to make sure they do an exhaustive coaching search. And Ricardo also said that if Perelman manages well enough, that he might be considered for the job. If you were to ask me right now and put a gun to my head, I don't think Perelman ends up getting the job, and I don't think this assistant coaching hire makes a lick of difference unless this team goes on a 4-win streak and doesn't lose for a little bit.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of touch on that too, and great that you brought it up. And so Alonso put this, and I want to say hello to him. It says, Orlando City is planning to bring an additional assistant coach for Martín Perelman. This would indicate that he's expected to remain in charge through the end of the season. Now, I try to corroborate that, and so I got word, and so I do want to say breaking news real quick. So thank you to everybody that's watching. Drop us a like and subscribe. Make sure that you subscribe to Loud and Proud Orlando. All right, so thank you for everybody that's watching. So I got confirmation per sources that yes, they're going to bring a additional interim assistant coach to Martín Perelman. This is factual. Now, I was also advised and told there is no point right at the moment. There is no reason in doing in interviewing coaches or not support Martín with the stretch of games that Orlando City has ahead. That is per sources. So there's no point in interviewing coaches or not support Martín Perelman with the stretch of games we have ahead. So that's per a really good source.
Can I add something onto that as well, Luis? I was told from some of my sources that I heard as well that assistant coach is already here and apparently was at the facility today. So that, again, we don't have a name yet. That'll probably come out in a press release, I would imagine.
In a press release, I'm sure.
The club will announce it. But what I'm trying to say with all of that, and Luis's source is right? You got to support Perelman. You got to give him the right infrastructure so he can be successful. Goldberg is a nice ad for him, but he needs another coach, right? He needs to fill out that coaching staff a little bit.
OCB needs also, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
They need Goldberg.
But to add on to that, and I think what Alonso was getting to at the end of it was like his opinion is he thinks that means that Perelman will be with them for the season. I'm not convinced that that's the case. I think if Perelman goes on a world-beating pace and this team wins like 4, 5, 6 in a row and beats big opponents and all that kind of stuff, then Perelman.
If we get 1 win and 2 draws and then a win against Houston, I mean, I would consider that positive.
Yeah, you know, but I think what still gives me reservation, and I talked about this on the episode last week where we talked about coaches. There's going to be so much coaching talent out there, and I'm not insulting Perelman with this, but there's going to be so much coaching talent out there. This team would be silly to not start having conversations unless Perelman stays perfect or near perfect, right? And I know that's a high bar to clear, but you've got you've got to test the waters to see what's out there. It's the same thing with players, right? Even if you've got a squad of 30 players and you don't have a roster spot, you're still scouting players, right? You're still talking to other teams about, hey, what's this player like? You're still watching their gameplay. It's the same thing with managers. You should still be putting an eye out and seeing, okay, what managers are out there? Who's available? Who can we talk to? If the club
I'm
is...
sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, and again, this is just my opinion, but I have a feeling that they probably have already. But right now, I mean, from what I've been told, is that there is no point in interviewing any coaches verbatim. There's no point in interviewing coaches or not support Martín Perelman with the stretch of games we have ahead. So clearly, I mean, I think what they're mean as well is, I mean, these next 3 games, dudes, I mean, we're talking about 3 candidates to the MLS Cup.
Not Columbus. I think Columbus is bad, but fair.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, Columbus. I mean, Columbus has always been troublesome for Orlando City.
But Columbus away is a tough game. Columbus away is a tough game. Right. There's no doubt about that.
I mean, again, we cannot look anybody over the shoulder. You know what I mean? At least to me.
Agreed.
So if you're looking at the, you look at Nashville, you look at LAFC, you look at Columbus, you're like, oh shoot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they're riding the momentum. That's how I take those words. They're riding the momentum, in this stretch of games that they have ahead. So
but like I said last week though, Luis, I was not convinced that even if we were going to go out and get a new manager, that it was going to happen before the World Cup anyway. I was never convinced by that, right? So what I will say is this, is that I think the smart approach would be you wait to the World Cup, you see what's out there, you compare it against Perelman's performance, because at that point, Perelman will have 11 games in charge of the team. I think if I have the math right, 10 or 11 games, something like that. He'll have 10 games of experience, and then you'll have all these other coaches, whether they're available, whether they're coaching a World Cup team and will become available, whatever the situation might be. You go and you evaluate Perelman against whatever else is on the market. And then you start to say to yourself, okay, Perelman put in this record for us, whatever that record is. Here's what else is out there. What benefit would I get by taking a coach that's out there? Because again, a coach that's out there is going to take time to get used to this team, right? It's just naturally, right? They're going to have to assess the players on their own. They're going to have to bring their own staff in. They're going to have to do all these things. So your season could be lost if you bring in somebody that's not here. The advantage of Perelman is he's been here, right? He understands the academy. He understands the first team. He understands all of that stuff.
You come from a big company, right? I come from a big company, and sometimes when, let's say, at least in my world of HR, which I'm also certified HR, by the way, if anybody, I'm sure I'm certified, right? If somebody gets fired, if somebody parts ways, and you have a guy that's reliable, that's always on time, that always says hello, that has perfect attendance, that's never, and he is in the same line of work as, let's say, a recruiter, but then he works as a data analyst, and you're short because the recruiter left. This data analyst will say, hey man, there's this position open. You've been nothing but a great employee. You want to try it out and see how it goes? Hey, the big catch is if it fails, you go back to your position. You'll be an assistant. But if it works, you get the gig, dude. You know what I mean?
But
and you really kind of right, and you already know the circle of life of the company, right? So it in a way, for a corporation, for a club, I kind of understand how Perelman is that bridge between the academy, and they're gonna try to give him the benefit of the doubt. I kind of understand why. You know what I mean? I do understand it, but I also see the other way that you say, what if we? It could happen. What if we get like 6-0 Nashville, 4-0 LAFC, and then 2-0 Columbus. We go 3 L's back to back. Obviously, the momentum is going to be down the drain by the time we get to Houston.
Well, and let me say this. For Perelman, the only reason you upgrade on a coach, because obviously he's got that academy connection, is you get a manager who is seen on the world stage as someone that people want to play for, right? Because, like, for example, with Felipe Luis, and a lot of people have been talking about this, he has a connection to Griezmann. Does that connection play off for the club? And does that help you close Griezmann in the summer? It could. Who knows? It could.
I mean, you can make the speculation.
Sure.
That he's a Flamengo manager that got him the Copa Libertadores, which is, by the way, one of the most amazing finals of Copa Libertadores, in my opinion, and of what it meant for the Mengao to win that, and for all the fans. So, and then you link it with Ricardo, that he's a Mengao fan, he's a Flamengo fan, and you link you can make those speculations, right? But in the end, it's gonna.
Does that mean we can get Georgian finally?
I mean, maybe in the end. I mean, it would
be my dream.
I think getting a coach like Felipe Luis will be amazing for Orlando in general.
But like, here's my other thing too, Luis. Like, if you can get a league winner and Wilfred Nancy, do you turn that down? Like, this is a guy who's won the league, right? So do you turn that down for what? I think if the club's going to go out and get somebody, it needs to be somebody with a proven track record of winning championships, right? That's what or the star draw, right? Like, for example, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but what if Ancelotti leaves Brazil after the World Cup, right?
Yeah, and he's too old to me.
I'm just picking an example, right? Let's say we pick up the phone and we go, "Hey, Ancelotti, do you want to do this for 2 seasons and help us bring in a bunch of players?" And he says, "Sure, I'll bring you a bunch of players to Orlando and we'll ball." Like, do you take him up on it? Here's a more a better example. Jesse Marsh. Let's say Canada does well at the World Cup, but Jesse Marsh doesn't keep his job with the Canadian Federation. Do you call Jesse Marsh and you say, "Hey, you want to come down to Orlando and you want to go win some stuff with Orlando?" Like, these are just thoughts. Like Pochettino, I know he's being connected to like other jobs, but like same kind of thing. Hey, Ponch, you want to come to Orlando and coach for a little while?
Pochettino will love to come to Orlando too.
Simeone doesn't have a contract with Atletico Madrid next year. Do you call Simeone and say, "Hey, you want to come coach over here?" I'm just saying, like, if you level up on the level of coach, then I can see that happening. But if you get consistency out of Perelman, like, again, if he strings together
there's nothing to lose. Orlando right now has not. I mean, the momentum is high. They're going to ride the wave, and they have nothing to lose right now.
And the World Cup breaks 2 months or whatever, 2.5 months. So you have more than enough time.
Right. So they're going to give Perelman the benefit of the doubt. And, right now, they're out of respect. The interviewing the coaches, it's on a halt. They're going to see what he can do in this. You're playing top elite competition, MLS.
Agreed.
LAFC and Nashville are no joke. So we're going to see what Iago is all about, what Nolan Miller, what Brian Ojeda, what, Angulo, if he can withstand that, those games too, because
Ticho and Pasalic, do they step up?
Right,
can they win games?
Right, because we could see also a dip from Angulo. We can see a dip from Iago. So I think what they want to see is continuity of this game.
And I guess as a final thing about this does not mean the club isn't calling management agencies and saying, "Hey, is this person available? What are they interested in doing?" Right? Just because they're not holding interviews doesn't mean they're not calling sports agencies and saying, "Hey, Nancy's agent, is he interested in coaching in MLS again? If he was, what would he be looking for? Okay, thanks. We'll keep that in mind." You still make the call, right? You're still doing research and you're still figuring out what it is. Now, obviously, when you get to interviews, that's when it becomes more serious, right? When you get to interviews, that says and sends a message of, okay, this team is serious about replacing its interim manager, and now we need to. Because here's the other thing too: Perelman, if he doesn't get the main job, could also be auditioning for a job somewhere else. or auditioning for a spot on the new staff, right? There might be a new coach who comes in and says, hey, I'll keep this guy if he did well.
Yeah, more than likely, if he's an interim, he will go back to be an assistant because he already kind of knows the system. So if, let's say, Felipe Luis comes in, right, he's gonna have to get into speed on how things work with Orlando, and who better person than Martin to kind of show him, like, okay, this is how this works, because he's been part of the system. So it's not going to be, just somebody new coming in and trying to do things So it says Pasalic, Tinchon, and Gulo has proven that they're the leaders of this team. This is Alonso. Thank you, Alonso. Broncos Racing. Remember when Rob Valentino rescued Atlanta season and still got shafted? I agree. And I again, it's soccer, man. Unfortunately, I actually really appreciate how we're building our coaching style. We're putting our foundation down brick by brick and making a blueprint for a perfect final product versus changing everything. It says John Rollins, thank you. Drop a like for David and Luis. Thank you, John. I agree with David. We have to replace Torres as assistant coach regardless. There you go. Is Ange still an idea? Former Tottenham manager. Come on, Daniel.
Everybody and wants Ange, man.
We don't want to be relegated, sir. There you go. Basically, I will say I miss the Florida Tropics from MASL of the topic of state with fan bases. Does that move from Miami to Orlando pre-Messi? The team culture here is much bigger. 100%, man. A lot of people don't realize it, but you're 100%.
Going back to the previous comment, you know who I miss, Keeb? The Tampa Bay Mutiny. They were only around for a couple years, but I remember seeing Carlos Valderrama when I was a kid, and man, was that a time to see him play.
A lot of I remember Cienfuegos from LA Galaxy.
What a time!
Literally, man. Only Mike Ramajo covers from this. Yes, Mike Ramajo. I want to say hello to Mike.
Shout out to Mike. Yeah.
Shout out to to everything he does. He's a great guy. LPO is better than TV or radio channels. There you go. I mean, I would love to be like, welcome to LPO here, 102 The Bone, here with all the tunes, the old tunes. Case to case, you're all insane in a good way. LPO are the best. You guys do great stuff. You know your stuff. Keep it up, says Adriana. Thank you, Daniel. Holy shit, David, where do you find the time, my guy? This is why LPO is the best analysis on the game.
It helps when you don't have commitments and you're just kind of crazy.
Mr. Rubens says, I appreciate your work, guys. Great show. No better source of information about Orlando other than you guys. Got to watch. Oh, yeah. Is it the final?
No, semifinal. This determines who goes to the championship.
Oh, wow. Hopefully, man, it's going to be a big game. Venezuela, Italy. Wow. You deserve a Brazilian caipirinha. Oh, man. Caipirinhas are the best.
Would love if you can
now. If you can bring caipirinhas for me, ma'am, I'll be delighted as well. This is Orlando versus Houston is totally a primetime matchup.
Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of Miss Adriana, to a lot of sertanejo. A lot of Brazilian sertanejo music. Yeah. Is it just me or Pasalic has shown signs of being inconsistent all along? Is he saving himself for the World Cup maybe? I've seen, she makes a point.
Yeah.
Because I heard it from some people from media, and then when I went down the elevator, there was two people that were in the suites, because media is where the suites are.
Yeah.
And they came out and like, yo, what the hell is Pasalic? Pasalic looks like Facu Torres trying to look for his freaking left foot, and I was like, so I didn't say anything. But what are your thoughts on that? I think. Yeah,
he started off slow, that's for sure, and he's got to find it. I think either way he gets called up for Croatia.
Yeah,
but
100%.
I don't think he's saving himself. I just think the league figured him out. I hate to say that, but it's kind of a similar thing to Facu, except when that happened, Facu kind of stepped up a little bit. And we kind of tried to add something to his game. But I think Pasalic, the best thing for him right now is to just figure out how you can get involved and get goal contributions. We've been seeing him shoot like crazy. He's been shooting the ball like nobody's business. It's just the end product just hasn't been there for him. I will say this. I have heard from sources, and I don't know if you've heard the same thing, Luis. He's not enjoying Orlando as much as I think he was thinking he would. He prefers Europe. It definitely sounds that way, and he does want to go back to Europe one day. I don't know if that's going to be now or if that's going to be later. I don't think his value will be any higher. Like if he goes to the World Cup, he'll have a very high value. So Orlando City should probably sell if he does want to go back to Europe at that point. Obviously, you got to get the right price, but I don't know. It's just a little slow for me. I think he needs to be more like once he gets the ball, just rip it, man. I don't need you to do anything else. Just get the ball and rip it.
I just think he has a huge opportunity.
Agreed.
Right now, I mean, I want to be completely honest, and I'm not trying to knock anybody down, but you are in one of the teams that has lost the first 3 games. You just won your first game. There's really the pressure is, I mean, everybody in Orlando knows that the next 3 games, I mean, a lot of people are going to tell you they're impossible, but there are no impossibles in soccer. You know what I mean?
Soccer's not played on paper, it's played on grass.
Right, but there's 3 games that you, Marco, could be the reason why we win a game or tie a game. So that should fuel. So you really, because what's the point of going to a World Cup and just being in the bench the whole time and playing 5 minutes? I understand you're probably, your resume is going to go up in price. You're going to be priced a little higher, but you barely had any minutes. You barely made any impact. But if, let's say, you start scoring two goals against Nashville, equalizer against LAFC, and then a penalty kick against Columbus, you already scored 5 goals? Boom. It's going to put you in a better situation to say you're one of the top strikers in the MLS. And then it's going to make your coach be like, yo, Pasalic actually has 5-6 goals right now. Shit, I need to give him minutes in the World Cup. And that's going to set you apart. But it's up to you, Pasalic. If you really want to leave Orlando, you better do great until the World Cup with Orlando, because you're going to showcase yourself.
Or even the tune-up game, because remember, he's going to be most likely in that tune-up game against Brazil. Yeah. So, great opportunity to start balling out this weekend, right? Figure out a way to get on the score sheet and get some minutes against Brazil.
100%. It says, I couldn't name the source, but there was something I heard. I read that Marco's family was kind of iffy about Florida at this point. Some of them live here, from what I understand. Oh, well, Marco had a great counterattack chance and completely goofed it, says John Rollins. Yeah, you're completely right. My coach, Carlos Valderrama, he coached me for 3 years. There you go, Alonso. Carlos Valderrama. You got to get that haircut, man. The Valderrama haircut. But here's the difference. Orlando has culture. Miami has cash hogs that would suck a golf ball through the garden hose for Pesci. Nah, it's okay, man. Messi is all right. But, I mean, I just don't like when you're trying to change the whole league for one person. Yeah. Not even Beckham did it when he came in. Not even Zlatan did that. And so I just think.
And Zlatan had the craziest first game I think I've ever seen of somebody coming from Europe.
And Galaxy still lost. This Ange was a fun idea, but probably never going to happen. Yeah. Pasalic and Tinchan and Gula have proven they're the leaders of the team. Yeah, you're completely right.
Hey, Luis, before we go today, let's talk some OCB a little bit, because those kids deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, so let me go into our website here. Let's go into your article for OCB right here. Go ahead, man. Take it away.
Yeah, so OCB had its first away match this past weekend. They actually played the same day that Orlando City did, just earlier in the day. So they got to keep a couple of first-teamers with them. Sajarin, Ellis, and Caraballo were all their call-ups from the first team. This game was really interesting because they came out a little timid to start the game, but then they started to feel themselves a little bit more. The defense definitely felt a little disjointed. No insult to him, but I'm not the biggest Lasarish fan. I just think he's still young. He's still trying to learn the position. He's still trying to get up to speed. I'm not going to dog on kids. They're trying to, trying to grow up levels and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, unfortunately for Juan Rojas, the dam kind of broke. He did well to start the game, but then he got peppered. They had 10 corners. Carolina Core had 10 corners against OCB in the first half, which was a crazy number. But then unfortunately, off of a corner, Carolina Core got their first goal. Juan Rojas came out a little too far and wasn't able to claim the ball, and it went right past him. It was really kind of a fluky looking goal. It just didn't really end well for them. And then so Orlando City B, though, took it back at him, to kind of end the first half, really pushing hard. Jalen Yearwood had a heck of a first half. As you guys know, if you watched any of my draft coverage, I was super high on Jalen Yearwood. He was one of my draft crushes at fullback. He put in a heck of a shift, especially in the first half, really showing his skill and his class. Caraballo and Ellis had some moments, but they were just kind of missing one or two passes or one or two connections, but then they were finally able to kind of put it together and figure it out. Then the second half gets underway. OCB is very much on the front foot. They're very much pushing. They're very much trying to find the equalizer. And unfortunately, the defense kind of failed them again. The marking was just kind of poor on the goal, and Carolina Core was able to kind of slip it right past them, and Juan Rojas wasn't able to do much. But then this is sort of where a switch got flipped for Orlando City B. They started making some subs, and they made a pair of subs that really helped push them forward. Parku Amu Mensah, who is a 17-year-old who comes from the academy, looked really lively in the first couple games for OCB, came on into the midfield and kind of also played like a wide position as well, was really pushing the ball forward, was really getting after it. And then they also brought on Belgadre, who also added to the forward line. The forward that they started, he did okay, but it wasn't anything spectacular. But what was really nice is we finally got our first goal off of a really nice sort of Harvey Sajarin ball that just gets squared to him. Amu Mensah makes this beautiful pass to square it sort of at the top of the box, and Harvey Sajarin just puts the ball nicely in the net. Harvey was just, lively the entire half, so it was really great to see him kind of get it finally. And then the second goal is, again, the hard work from Harvey to get in there and press the keeper. The ball skips off of Sajarin, which falls right to Ellis, and Ellis slams it home and gets the second goal, which ties the matchup sort of late in the second half, around the 80th minute. And Ellis, just with a perfect reaction, goes over to the bench area and goes, shh, shut the F up, shh, to like the entire Carolina Core bench, which was just chef's kiss. You got to love that attitude from Justin Ellis. And then what makes it even more perfect is finally Caraballo gets involved in the scoring that happens all game. They get a set piece with only like less than a minute left in the game. They're in stoppage time at this point. Caraballo puts up a great ball to Caleb Trombino, who gets on the end of it and heads it right into the corner of the net. And the Young Lions steal one late in Carolina and kind of put it away. But the fight that these kids had the entire match to go down 0-2 and then to score 3 goals unanswered was just a crazy feat for them. And before I turn it back over to Luis, I got to give a shout out to my two guys we've been talking about all season. Harvey Sajarin has been making kids look stupid when he plays on OCB. He has been so good to start this season. I don't understand how he has not seen first team minutes yet. This kid, he's silky smooth on the ball. He's physical when he needs to be. His end product is really solid. His pressing is really good. He's just like, Harvey's got to get a shot at some point. He just really does. He had 1 goal, 1 assist in this game. He continues to add to his stats for the season. And then Justin Ellis did exactly what Justin Ellis is supposed to do. He put the ball in the back of the net. He was where he was supposed to be. He pressed hard. He did a lot of shit hosiery, the dark arts, and all that kind of stuff. He knew how to get under the skin of Carolina Core. He just he plays the part when he needs to. And then my last shout out has to go to Jalen Yearwood. He was my draft
100%
crush
great.
as a fullback. He was so good getting forward. He also played really well defensively. He just really kind of showed the class that he had when it comes to these young players. He's another guy that I think you have to keep your eyes on, who may get some short-term call-ups or may eventually get a first-team contract, because I do think he is that good, and I think he's going to get better with more game time. So I'm just excited to kind of see how he goes. And then Juan Rojas getting his first professional start for the young kid. You know, he signed his contract in the offseason. He's got a huge, huge future ahead of him. I think he played a solid game. It wasn't, maybe not the best game in his career, but he played a solid game. He played well. He really as the game went on, he really started to feel himself into the game. Just really big game for him. So just great fight from OCB throughout the whole match.
OCB, in my opinion, pulled off one of the gutsiest wins right now in MLS Next Pro. I mean, overcoming a 2-0 deficit in 15 minutes, that's pretty impressive, to say the least. And I second what David said about Harvey Sarajian. His influence was tremendous. I mean, he has a goal and an assist in this game, and now he's had, I think, so far 4 goal contributions in 3 games. So he's definitely that creative spark that OCB's been yearning and has been missing for a while. I do feel like if he continues this level, he needs to be in the first team. We talked about Yutaro Sukada, and right now you have to do it of what's the immediate need. I think Harvey Sarajian, it's like a Joran Bay before the attacking third. I think he could play in the mid, he could play on the flank, he could play up top. So, I mean, Joran can do the same thing, but more of like defensively. Harvey, I think if he continues this momentum and he's consistent, we need consistent players in Orlando City. And so I think we need to take notes on what this kid's doing. So kudos to Harvey. And I know that he watches and listens. So thank you, Harvey. Justin Ellis, the same thing. He's a veteran in quotation marks of the squad. He stayed calm to slot the home equalizer in the 80th minute. 10th all-time goal with OCB. He's definitely, to me, my favorite finisher from the whole Orlando City brand, in my opinion. I think he has a huge ceiling. And again, another first-team caliber depth player. And then Caleb Trombino, I think his equalizer was kind of like the stamp of approval for the Orlando City Academy and the whole pipeline. I mean, it was his second game, I believe, with the team. And the young kids showed perfect positioning for the goal. And then also he made it known that the path to the pros, the purple pipeline, it's alive and kicking and wider than ever, and there's a lot of talent in that pipeline. So good for Caleb Trombino, good for the academy. It was a gutsy win, 3-2, and Orlando City B is rocking it. So proud of you guys. I know you guys
Luis,
watch and follow.
I want to add one more name to that as well that fans should be watching out for. Dylan Judelson is a name that you need to watch out for. He is so calm and cool and collected on the ball. He's a big kid, but he's just really smooth. He's really silky. He's really solid in the midfield. He knows how to control the game. He can, in a pinch, he can slide back and play center back if you need him to. It's not his best position, I don't think, but he's a really good defensive midfielder, and another really good one that we have coming out of the academy. You have to start watching for him, because Dylan Judelson, he's either going to go to the first team if there's spots for him, or Judelson's going to get sold straight out of OCB. I'm calling it right now. He's that level of talent. He's that good. He's going to be really good. And then, guys, don't forget with OCB, they don't even have 2 of what they would consider their top choice center backs in right now, because Jackson Platts is recovering from a knee injury. Chris Archange is recovering from a knee injury. So they're both out until probably about the middle of the season. So they don't even have their best 2 center backs right now available for this team. So this team's only going to get better. as the season goes on. And those are two kids that you have to, again, especially Platts, that's a kid you have to watch for because he is a talented son of a gun. And again, it continues to prove that the academy is doing exactly what it should be doing. It's pumping out talent at a crazy rate. And this is exactly what Orlando City wants to see. And it's not only that, these academy teams are beating up on other teams every weekend as they're going to compete in the academy. They're stealing players from other people's teams and adding them to their teams and stuff like that. So it's just really great to see. Now, the next step in that, sort of to what Luis and I have talked about a lot, is, okay, Harvey's balling out for OCB. When does he get the first team call up? Because he has to get called up to the first team at this point.
Yeah.
Because, no offense to Tyrese Spicer, but like, I would have maybe rather seen Harvey Sajarin in that game than maybe Tyrese Spicer. I mean, just my opinion, like with the form that he's in, like it's just something you can't ignore, right? And so we'll see. Well, hopefully these guys, and like Justin Ellis is another one.
Same is. So I think in my opinion, the three that we're gonna probably, and I know this gonna sting a little bit. Like, I know we saw Caraballo in the Open Cup. We're probably going to see more. And again, it's up to the player. All of this is cyclical. So Right now you could be up top and one season you can be on the bottom. So it's up to Caraballo to excel. He's young, but he cannot be just complacent, right? Because then you're going to have the Harveys of the world coming in and steal your spot, right? Right now, in my opinion, Harvey, Ellis, and Pedro Leal are, to me, the three players that are ready for the first team right now, in my opinion. Now, I think that we should see most of the OCB squad. I would love to see him play in the Leagues Cup. Guys, and I'm saying this, let's play the Open Cup with the A squad and let's just have the kids play the Leagues Cup. I think it'll be plenty of time. And I think the first team, again, this is up to the coach in the end.
Yeah, and to add on to it,
the coach, like you said, if Tyrese Spicer is not looking good, he needs to have the backbone to say, "Hey, Tyrese, go to OCB, let's do a switcheroo. Let me bring Harvey in." He needs to have that backbone to make that happen for the better of the squad. Go ahead, man.
And to add to it a little bit more too, this is an OCB squad that also doesn't have Nacho Gomez right now, who is a very highly rated player out of Velez 2, who's going to be really good for this team as well. We haven't seen Justin Hilton yet, but he is also another player that's really good that you're going to see on this team eventually.
The truth.
But more, I love it. Thank you, John, for that. I appreciate it. The other thing though is that like we've got to go out and support these guys. So this weekend, I'm not every week. I'm not gonna plug going to watch the B team because obviously you guys can know where to find them. But remember, if you're a season ticket holder, you get OCB tickets for free. And then normally they're down in Kissimmee, but this weekend on Sunday, they're playing Inter Miami 2 in the big stadium. They're going to be downtown in the big stadium. So go check them out. I plan to be there on Sunday. I'm going to go check out the Young Lions. They should have most of their options from the first team that they want because City plays the day before, and then they should be flying back into town. So they'll have a lot of their options and things like that. So if you want to see some of these guys before they make the jump to the big team, this is a perfect opportunity. Plus, it's against a rival, and we want to stomp Inter Miami too and make sure we beat them badly. So use this as an opportunity to go see those guys and really, and really support them because this team's got a lot of talent from top to bottom, whether that's academy growth, whether that's draft picks, whatever it is. They have really cooked with this team, and I can't wait to see some more of these other players kind of get into the squad. And honestly, it didn't really look like they missed a beat, even with Goldberg going up to the first team. Because remember, they lost Goldberg midweek, so this will be a really a great time for it. And like John said, Ruckus and ILF showing up big for the OCB game. That's awesome. Yeah. Every fan should be showing up big for this OCB game. This is a great opportunity to get out to the stadium in a more casual setting and kind of see these kids.
There's 2 games coming up in Inter&Co Stadium. You have the Pride playing on Friday,
Yep.
which we're gonna have to close because we have the Pride Pod next.
Of course,
And then we have Sunday, we have OCB. So it says even preseason game 1, he looked good out there. It's against MLS rules to play a B team because of the money involved. I don't think it's against MLS rules. It's just obviously you don't want to play your whole OCB on.
So
OCB.
if you're referring to, so for both U.S. Open Cup and for Leagues Cup, it's whoever you register with
Correct.
the tournament.
Yeah.
For Open Cup, you can't play a full B team because, yes, technically it's against the rules, but anybody who's signed to a first team contract or signed to a short-term agreement can play an Open Cup matches. So if Orlando City is smart, like Luis said, they can play they can play the first team in the US Open Cup so we can go win the damn thing. But then in Leagues Cup, they can register all of the younger players on the roster with maybe a couple people sprinkled in, and then sign a couple short-term agreements with because what I think will happen, Luis, is I think against Monterrey, they'll play probably the A squad because they're going to be on the world stage at that point. You want to put a bigger stage, right? Because the Monterrey fans will show up.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I mean, Monterrey is probably going to have 10,000 fans or 5,000.
Yeah. So you might play your first team in that one, but for like San Luis and Leon, roll out the kids. Who cares? We don't roll out the kids. Play as many of them as you can. Sign as many short-term agreements as you can. I'd love to see Pedro Leal play Leon, right? Or play San Luis or one of those teams, right?
100%.
Or Ellis or Sajarin, whoever, right? I would love to see that.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I think we should give more. I think the Open Cup is going to be a little bit better for Orlando.
We need to go full out on the Open Cup.
Full out, yeah. I mean, imagine going to playoffs, even if it's, let's say, 6th or 7th, and then winning the Open Cup. Overall, it's going to be great for the club in the end.
Great for Perelman.
Great for Perelman, right? It says Harvey so far looks like the new Jack Lynn, given some MLS minutes before he loses interest. Says Ruckus. No,
he's more versatile than Jack Lynn. I'll say that.
No, he's not Jack Lynn, bro. But anyways, we're signing off. We appreciate you guys for all your support. This is Loud and Proud Orlando. We're available on all social media outlets, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, also on X, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Stick around because we're going with the Pride Pod. Thank you, David, for all your insight. I do want to make an announcement. We'll see you guys on Wednesday to do the preview for the game against Nashville. So we'll see you guys on Wednesday. And again, vamos Orlando.
Vamos,
guys. Thank you.